The rain poured like the sky was weeping, slamming against the windows of the Greyhound bus as it rolled through unfamiliar territory. Inside, Rachel Moore sat motionless in seat 14A, her fingers curled tightly around the straps of her worn leather bag, the only thing she'd had time to grab when she ran. Her knuckles were white from holding on too tight. Her pulse hadn't calmed since she left Cincinnati behind. She hadn't meant to be on this bus. And yet, here she was so far from where she'd planned to go, beside a man she'd never met, with a one-way ticket to somewhere she didn't know how to pronounce. She hadn't spoken a word since she got on. Neither had the man beside her. Until now. He turned his head slowly. Calm, composed. He looked like someone who had nothing to fear in the world. "I know who you are, Rachel," he said, his voice deep and steady. "And I've been waiting for you." Her heart dropped into her stomach. She stared at him, stunned. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. He knew her name. How? Why? And what did he mean by waiting? Just a day ago, Rachel was in a kitchen that no longer felt like home. Standing by the sink, clutching a cracked coffee mug, she watched Evan pace the floor in his usual morning fury. He was yelling again about the eggs, the laundry, the dog she forgot to feed, whatever excuse he could find to explode. But that morning, it wasn't just yelling. He smashed her mug to the floor, screamed in her face, and grabbed her arm hard enough to leave bruises that would blossom like ink stains. That wasn't new. What was new was the look she gave him in return. Not fear. Not apology. Just emptiness. She had reached the end. Rachel had once been full of dreams of travel, of publishing her own book, of love that didn't come with bruises. She gave those dreams up for Evan. Or maybe she lost them in the storm that became her marriage. For years, she convinced herself it wasn't that bad. But last night, after Evan stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frames, she stood in the living room in silence. She stared at her reflection in the glass of the darkened window, and she realized she didn't recognize herself anymore. She packed fast. A few clothes, her wallet, some emergency cash she'd been hiding behind the spice rack. No time for more. By midnight, she was gone. The bus terminal buzzed with fluorescent lights and tired voices. She paid cash for a one-way ticket to Albany Sisters City, her sanctuary. The woman who had warned her about Evan on their wedding day. But in the confusion, disoriented and trembling, she asked the wrong clerk, stood at the wrong gate, and boarded the wrong bus. The bus rolled on. Rain blurred the world outside. Rachel kept her head down. She hoped no one would recognize her just in case Evan had already figured out she was gone. She couldn't risk being found. Not now. Not when freedom was finally in reach. She hadn't even realized the seat beside her was occupied until she glanced over and saw him. A man in his 30s, maybe older, with sharp features and calm, intelligent eyes. He wore a dark hoodie under a brown wool overcoat, and he sat upright, like someone used to watching his surroundings. He hadn't looked at her, hadn't spoken, but his presence felt different. Not threatening. Not exactly comforting either. Just aware. She tried not to think too much about it. Until he spoke. "I know who you are, Rachel," he said softly, staring straight ahead. "And I've been waiting for you." Her throat clenched. What did you say?" she asked, her voice hoarse. He slowly turned toward her. From his coat pocket, he pulled out a folded piece of paper and held it out. Rachel stared at it for a second, then took it with trembling hands. It was a photograph of her, standing on the library steps back in Cincinnati, smiling faintly, alone. She remembered that day 2 weeks ago she had gone there just to feel normal for an hour. Evan was out of town. She'd sat on a bench reading a travel magazine, imagining a life that didn't exist. Who took this picture? Why did this man have it? "Where did you get this?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The man didn't answer right away. Instead, he leaned slightly closer and whispered, There are people looking for you, Rachel, but they're not the ones you think. She stared at him, trying to steady her breath. What do you mean? She asked. The man didn't flinch. You got on the wrong bus, he said. But maybe, just maybe, that was exactly the right one. Rachel's mind raced. She clutched her bag tighter. Was this some kind of trap? Did Evan send this man? But something inside her whispered no. This wasn't Evan's doing. This was something else, something bigger. The man reached into his coat again and pulled out what looked like a small journal, its leather cover faded and frayed. He opened it to a page marked with a red ribbon and held it toward her. There, written in black ink, was her name. And below it, target confirmed. Asset in position. Do not engage until instructed. She looked at him, her voice shaking. What is this? Who are you? He closed the journal gently. Then he looked her straight in the eyes and said, I'm the one who's supposed to protect you, Rachel. But we're running out of time. Rachel's fingers trembled as she held the strange journal in her lap, her name, written there like some kind of mission. Target confirmed. Do not engage until instructed. It felt like something out of a spy movie. Except this wasn't a movie. This was her life, and nothing made sense anymore. She looked up from the page and locked eyes with the man sitting beside her. His face was calm, but something behind his eyes buzzed with tension, with purpose. She whispered, What do you mean you're here to protect me? Who are you? The man exhaled slowly, then leaned in, just enough so only she could hear. My name is Cole Bennett. I work in private security, very private. A few weeks ago, your name showed up on a list, not the kind you want to be on. Rachel blinked. A list? Cole nodded. Let's just say people who get on it tend to disappear, fast. Rachel's skin crawled. Wait, are you saying someone wants me dead? Cole didn't answer that directly, but the look in his eyes was enough. It wasn't just a yes, it was a warning. Rachel stared ahead, numb. Outside the window, trees blurred into shadows. She wasn't going to Albany. She wasn't going anywhere safe. She was running blind. How could I end up on something like that? She asked finally, her voice barely audible. I'm just no one. I work part-time at a bookstore. I don't even have a passport. Cole looked at her thoughtfully. You ever hear the name Kenneth Bryce? Rachel shook her head. Well, he said, he's your husband's boss, technically. Her stomach turned. Evan works at some fancy law firm in downtown Cincinnati, she said. But he never mentioned any Kenneth. Cole nodded. Exactly. Because Kenneth Bryce isn't just a lawyer. He's a broker. A very dangerous one. Think less legal documents and more. Offshore accounts, shell corporations, deals with very dark people. Rachel's mouth went dry. My husband's not involved in anything like that. Cole tilted his head. You sure? Because I've been watching Evan Moore for 3 months now. And trust me, he's not just abusive. He's dirty. Rachel leaned back in her seat, her mind spiraling. Could it be true? Could Evan's long nights, mysterious trips, and sudden bursts of rage be more than just a broken marriage? Could he actually be involved with criminals? And worse, could she be guilty by association? Cole continued. 2 weeks ago, Evan delivered a package. He thought it was just documents, but inside were encrypted files tying Kenneth Bryce to a laundering ring. Your husband had no idea the package had been flagged. That put him on the list. And anyone connected to him. Rachel covered her mouth. You're saying I'm on that list because I'm his wife? Soon to be ex, right? Cole added. Rachel gave a slow nod. Well, Cole said, they don't care. They're tying up loose ends. Bryce thinks Evan might have told you something, or maybe you saw something. Rachel felt the weight of every moment she ignored. Every time Evan stepped into shadow. Every time she wondered where the bruises ended and the secrets began. I didn't know anything, she whispered. Cole looked at her, steady. But they think you do. Rachel turned her face toward the window again, tears pooling in her eyes. I just wanted to get out. I just wanted to breathe again. I never asked for this. I know, Cole said gently. For a moment, silence stretched between them. The kind that makes you feel both invisible and seen. Why are you helping me? She asked. Cole's jaw clenched slightly. Because I've seen what happens to people who don't get help. And because someone paid me to watch Evan. But you weren't supposed to be part of this. And now I am, Rachel said bitterly. Cole gave a slow nod. Now you are. The bus slowed as it approached a quiet rest stop surrounded by tall pines. The driver's voice crackled through the speaker. 15-minute break. Stretch your legs, folks. People began to gather their things, yawning, standing, stepping into the aisle. Rachel stayed seated, unsure whether her legs could even carry her. Cole stood up, his eyes scanning the rest of the passengers. He didn't move like a tourist. He moved like someone train-controlled. He leaned down. Come with me. We can't stay on this bus. Rachel stiffened. But we're in the middle of nowhere. Exactly, Cole replied. It's the perfect place for someone to try and make you disappear. As they stepped off the bus into the crisp night air, Rachel pulled her coat tighter around her. The rain had stopped, but the wind bit into her skin. She turned toward Cole, but he was already moving, fast eyes darting, posture alert. Then, across the parking lot, Rachel saw it. A black SUV, parked crooked near the edge of the lot. Tinted windows, engine still running. Two men stood near it, both dressed in dark clothes, pretending to smoke. But neither one was holding a cigarette. Rachel took a shaky step backward. Her voice cracked. Cole, are they here for me? He glanced toward them, jaw tightening. Yes, but they're early, which means... He grabbed her hand suddenly. They're not the only ones. Behind them, the other bus passenger, the tall man with the baseball cap from the back row, was already moving toward them fast. Cole pushed Rachel behind him and whispered, Stay low, stay quiet, and whatever happens, don't trust anyone but me. Rachel ducked behind the snack vending machine as Cole positioned himself between her and the man from the back of the bus. The stranger had taken off his hat and was approaching casually, too casually. But Rachel could feel it. That wasn't just a bus passenger coming to stretch his legs. Cole's voice was cold and sharp. One more step, and I drop you. The man raised his hands, smirking. Easy, cowboy, he said. Didn't realize you were still running solo gigs. This one must be special. Rachel's heart skipped. She had no idea what they were talking about, but every word felt like a warning. The man's smirk faded as he glanced over Cole's shoulder at her. You know she's not worth it, right? She's just leverage. Bryce won't stop until... Crack. Cole moved like lightning. Rachel couldn't even see the punch land, but suddenly the man was sprawled on the concrete, groaning. Cole spun around. Run! Rachel didn't ask questions. She bolted toward the side of the rest stop building as Cole grabbed her hand and dragged her through a narrow alley between two dumpsters. Behind them, she heard Shout's footsteps pounding the pavement. They ducked behind a rusted-out delivery van, just as two men from the black SUV turned the corner, scanning the shadows. Cole whispered, We've got 60 seconds, Max. He yanked open the back door of the van. It creaked, loudly. Inside were dusty soda crates and broken-down cardboard boxes. In, he said. Rachel didn't hesitate. She crawled in and pulled her knees to her chest. Cole climbed in after her, quietly closing the door behind them, leaving them in near total darkness. She was shaking. Are they gonna find us? She whispered. Not if I'm right about the guy who owns this van, he said. What if you're wrong? Cole gave her a look she wasn't expecting, half amused, half exhausted. Then this'll be a very short adventure. The minutes felt like hours. Rachel's mind was spinning. She wanted to scream, or cry, or just wake up and find out this was all some horrible dream. This is insane, she muttered. I was just trying to escape a toxic marriage. Now I'm hiding from hitmen in the back of a soda truck. Cole didn't reply at first. Then he said, "Sometimes the wrong road gets you to the right place." Rachel scoffed. "Did you read that in a fortune cookie?" "No," he said. "I lived it." She looked at him now. Really looked at him. The stubble on his jaw, the small scar beneath his right eye, the faint bruises on his knuckles. This wasn't a man who read self-help books. This was someone who'd survived things she couldn't imagine. "Why are you helping me?" she asked again. "You could have walked away. I was a stranger on a bus." Cole turned to her, his expression serious. "You're not a stranger anymore." Suddenly, Cole's burner phone buzzed silently. He pulled it out, squinting at the screen. One new message. From a number marked, "Do not answer." Cole read it, and his jaw tightened. "What is it?" Rachel asked. "They know who you are," he said, voice low. "But now, they know who you used to be." "What are you talking about?" He handed her the phone. The message was short, but chilling. "The girl from St. Augustine's orphanage." "You thought we'd forget?" Rachel's vision blurred. No, that's not possible. No one knew. Evan didn't even know." Cole looked at her carefully. "There's something you're not telling me?" Rachel felt the walls closing in. "I was in the system. For a long time. My parents died when I was little. I moved between homes until I aged out. But how could they know that?" Cole sat back slowly. "Because whoever's after you isn't just digging through your husband's mess. They're digging through you." Before she could process what that meant, headlights flashed through the van windows. Rachel froze. Cole cracked the door open just a sliver and peeked out. The black SUV was now cruising slowly through the lot. "They're checking every vehicle," he muttered. Rachel's pulse jumped. "What do we do now?" Cole slipped out a small black device from his coat. It looked like a car key, but sleeker. He grinned. "We take the van." Rachel blinked. "You're stealing it?" "Borrowing," he said, already crawling into the driver's seat. "Like I said, sometimes the wrong road gets you to the right place," Rachel finished, sliding into the passenger seat. Cole hot-wired the van in under 10 seconds. Rachel could barely breathe. The moment the engine sputtered to life, the SUV spun around sharply at the end of the lot. "They saw us!" she shouted. "Buckle up." Cole floored it. The van peeled out of the lot just as the SUV gave chase, tires screeching on wet pavement. They hit the highway with a roar, headlights bouncing in the rearview mirror. Rachel gripped the seat. "They're gaining!" Cole didn't panic. He swerved off an exit ramp, shot through a gas station, then down a gravel side road that wound into thick woods. The SUV didn't follow. They disappeared into the trees. 10 minutes later, Cole parked the van beneath a broken billboard that read, "Welcome to West Pines, a town with roots." Rachel finally exhaled. "We made it? For now." She turned to him. "Where are we?" Cole looked at her. "Somewhere they won't find us tonight." He reached into his coat and pulled out the journal again. He flipped to another page. This time, there wasn't just her name. There was a list. 4 names total. 3 were crossed out. Only one name remained. Rachel Moore. Her fingers went cold. What happened to the others? Cole hesitated. They didn't make it. Rachel stared at the list. 4 names. 3 crossed out. 1 her still there, still breathing. The van's silence felt louder than gunshots. The forest outside whispered with wind and shadows, but nothing compared to the storm rising inside her. She looked at Cole. "You said you were here to protect me, but you didn't say from what. You didn't say from who. And now you show me this? What exactly is going on?" Cole leaned back in the driver's seat, the glow from the dashboard painting his face in hues of red and green. "You need to understand something, Rachel. This wasn't random. You're not just on the list because of Evan. You were marked before that." Rachel blinked, shaking her head. "What are you talking about? You were always part of this. You just didn't know it." He opened the journal again, this time flipping to a middle section filled with names, dates, notes scribbled in code. Back in 1996, Cole said, there was a government-funded pilot program run quietly through St. Augustine's. Orphanage kids with no family were unknowingly enrolled in something called Project Horizon. Rachel's jaw tensed. My name was never on anything like that, she said. No, that's the point, Cole replied. They erased the names. The goal was simple track behavior over time, measure psychological response to trauma. Kids were moved between homes to study how they adapted. Rachel shook her head slowly, her voice trembling. No, I was just a foster kid. That's all. I moved around a lot, sure, but you were one of the original 7 enrolled, Cole interrupted softly. And now, only one name is left. Yours. Rachel covered her face with her hands. So, all of this? My whole life? It was an experiment? No, Cole said gently. It became one. But you were still real. Your life mattered. It still does. She pulled her hands away, eyes wild with fear and confusion. Why now? Why are they killing us now? Cole's voice hardened. Because someone leaked parts of the file, and Bryce's people are trying to make sure no one can trace the dots. No witnesses. No evidence. Rachel felt like her mind was tearing in two. Evan didn't even know, she said. No, Cole agreed. But he unknowingly triggered the purge when he delivered those documents. And when you ran, that told them you might know something, even if you didn't. Rachel stared out the windshield into the darkness. So what now? We just keep running, hiding, waiting for them to come kill me? No, Cole said. Now, we end this. He pulled a flash drive from his coat and placed it on the dashboard. This has the remaining files. Locations, payouts, test results, participant logs, everything. It's encrypted, but it's what they're trying to destroy. If we can get this to someone who still cares about the truth. Rachel interrupted. Who? The police? The media? Cole shook his head. Too risky. Too many hands already bought. But there's someone. A journalist in D.C. named Tessa Marlowe. She used to work for the Ledger. Got fired when she exposed a senator's ties to a private military firm. He looked at her. She'll believe us. Rachel hesitated. And you trust her? With my life. Just as Rachel reached out to touch the flash drive, Cole's burner phone buzzed again. One new message. No name. Just 2 words. They know. Rachel's eyes went wide. What does that mean? Cole turned on the ignition. It means they found the van. Before he could say another word, headlights flashed through the woods behind them. A black SUV. Then another one. Coming from different angles. Cole gripped the wheel. Hold on. He floored it. The tires spun in mud, then gripped just enough for the van to shoot forward onto a gravel path that twisted sharply left and downhill. Rachel screamed as branches scraped the windows and pine needles flew like sparks. Behind them, the SUVs closed in. Cole zigzagged between trees, the van bouncing violently. One of the SUVs took a corner too fast and clipped a log spinning out in a flash of sparks and metal. But the second one kept coming. Almost there, Cole said through gritted teeth. Where is there? Rachel shouted. A safe house. Old contact of mine. It's off-grid. They burst through the edge of the woods and onto an abandoned stretch of road lit only by moonlight. The SUV still chased them, closer now. Cole reached under the dashboard and flicked a switch. Rachel frowned. What's that? Surprise. A small steel panel dropped open near the rear bumper. Seconds later, the SUV hit something hard. Boom. Smoke. Screeching tires. A small explosion. The SUV flipped once and crashed into the trees. Rachel gaped. Did you just booby-trap the van? Cole shrugged. Not my first rodeo. A few minutes later, they pulled up to an old cabin nestled into a cliffside. Cole jumped out, scanned the surroundings, and motioned Rachel inside. The place was dusty, but secure shutters bolted, power running on a generator, cell service completely dead. Inside, Rachel finally sat down, rubbing her temples. "Is this ever going to stop?" she asked. "Yes," Cole replied, "but not unless we finish this." She looked at him now. "Truly. You knew about me before that bus ride," she said. "You said you were hired to watch Evan. But you were watching me, weren't you?" Cole didn't speak right away. Then he nodded. "Yes." Her throat tightened. "So, from the beginning, this wasn't chance. You got on that bus on purpose." "I did," he admitted. "But what I didn't plan was you." Rachel stood up, tears forming in her eyes. "After everything I've been through, you still lied to me." "I didn't lie," Cole said. "I protected you. Every step. And I'm still here." She turned away, heart pounding. Just then, a knock at the cabin door. Rachel froze. Cole pulled his gun instantly and pressed a finger to his lips. Another knock. 3 times. Then, silence. Cole stepped slowly toward the door, gun raised. Then a woman's voice called out from behind the door. "Cole Bennett, you were supposed to be dead." Rachel stood frozen in the center of the dusty cabin, her heart hammering against her chest. Outside the door, the woman's voice came again, dripping with cold amusement. "Come on, Cole. You didn't really think you could run forever, did you?" Cole didn't move. His gun stayed trained on the door, his body a statue of tension. He whispered without turning his head. "Rachel, back room, now." Rachel hesitated. She didn't want to leave him. She didn't want to hide anymore. But the look on Cole's face told her this wasn't a debate. Without a word, she backed away, slipping into a small side room filled with musty books and broken furniture. She pressed her ear against the cracked door. Cole edged toward the cabin door. "Who's out there?" he called. "You know exactly who," the woman replied, her tone mocking. "Tessa Marlowe sends her love." Rachel's eyes widened. Tessa? The journalist Cole had sworn would help them? The woman outside continued. "You should have known better than to trust her. She's been working for Bryce all along." Rachel's mind raced. If Tessa was a traitor, then their entire plan was a setup. Cole's jaw clenched. "If you came for Rachel, you're too late." The woman laughed softly. "No, Cole, I didn't come for her." A gunshot cracked through the air, blasting through the thin wooden door. Rachel ducked instinctively, covering her head. Cole fired back, dropping to one knee and aiming carefully. The door shuddered under the impact, splinters flying everywhere. Outside, the woman cursed and retreated behind the SUVs. Rachel peered through a small hole in the wall and saw 2 more armed men fanning out from the woods. "They're surrounding us," Rachel whispered to herself, panic building. Cole slid back toward Rachel's hiding spot, blood trickling from a cut on his arm. "We can't hold this cabin," he said grimly. "Not for long." Rachel grabbed his sleeve. "What do we do?" Cole hesitated for the first time since she met him. It was the kind of hesitation that scared her more than the guns. Then he pulled a slim black satchel from under his jacket and shoved it into her hands. "The drive is in here," he said, "along with everything else that matters." Rachel shook her head furiously. "No, I'm not leaving you." "You have to," he said, voice low and urgent. "There's a trap door in the floor of the back room. Crawl through it. It leads down to the old root cellar. There's an exit tunnel there that goes into the woods." Rachel's hands shook so badly she almost dropped the satchel. "Cole, please." "Listen to me," he barked. Then his voice softened. "I'll hold them off. You get to D.C. You find someone who still cares about the truth. You finish this." Tears blurred her vision. "I can't leave you." "You have to," he whispered. Rachel stared at him for one final moment, memorizing every detail. Then she nodded, swallowing her fear. She sprinted to the back room, ripped up the old carpet, and found the trapdoor. Rusted hinges creaked as she pulled it open. She climbed down into the darkness, her heart hammering, Cole's satchel strapped across her chest. Above her, she heard the door to the cabin smash open. Gunshots. Shouting. And then Cole's voice, calm and defiant. "You'll have to kill me first." Rachel didn't look back. She ran. The root cellar smelled of damp earth and mold. Rachel crawled on her hands and knees through a narrow tunnel, feeling stones scrape her skin. Every muscle screamed at her to stop, to hide, to give up. But she thought of Cole, of everything he'd risked for her, of the list with her name, the last one uncrossed. She would not die like the others. The tunnel opened into thick woods bathed in silver moonlight. She stumbled into the open air, gasping, pulling herself up with trembling arms. Somewhere far behind, she heard a low explosion at the cabin. Her knees buckled, but she pushed forward. Branches scratched her arms. Mud sucked at her shoes. But she kept going, running blind, running on pure instinct. Suddenly, a shadow moved in front of her. A figure stepped out from behind a tree gun drawn. It was the woman from the cabin, the one who had called out to Cole. "You made it farther than I thought," the woman sneered, leveling the weapon at Rachel's chest. Rachel froze. No weapon, no strength left. Just fear. The woman smirked. "Too bad it ends here." She cocked the gun. Rachel squeezed her eyes shut, whispering a silent prayer. "I'm sorry, Cole." Crack. A gunshot split the night. Rachel flinched, but she wasn't hit. Slowly, she opened her eyes. The woman staggered backward, her gun clattering to the ground. Another figure emerged from the trees. It was Cole. Bruised, bloody, alive. He lowered his pistol with shaking hands. Rachel sobbed on sharp and raw. Cole stumbled forward and caught her as she collapsed into his arms. "You didn't think I'd leave you, did you?" he rasped. 2 days later, Rachel sat inside a quiet cafe in Washington, D.C., the satchel by her side. Across the table, a woman with sharp eyes and a battered laptop typed furiously. Her name was Emily Rodesan, old contact Cole trusted after all. Not Tessa, someone real. Rachel handed over the flash drive, her hands steady now. Outside, Cole sat in a car watching the street, healing slowly but alive. Rachel looked out the window at him and smiled faintly. She wasn't running anymore. She was fighting. She had boarded the wrong bus that night. Met a mysterious man she should have been terrified of. And somehow, through fear, betrayal, and blood, she found something she hadn't had in a long time. Hope. The wrong bus had saved her life. If you like this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.